Welcome to the Entrepreneur Stories podcast. Jonathan Herps is your host. He is a strategic advisor, coach, and mentor to entrepreneurial founders, business owners, and CEOs. In this podcast, he chats with entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs of scaling companies. It centers around their entrepreneurial journey so far and their aspirations for their companies.
Hi there, it's Jonathan Herps again. Welcome back to my podcast, Entrepreneur Stories of Scaling Up. This episode is number 107. Today I'm talking to Julian Khursigara. I hope I got that right, Julian.
Spot on, well done.
Fabulous, thank you. Who's co-founder and director of Search Party Property. So thanks so much and welcome aboard.
Thanks, Johnson. I appreciate you having on board, long-time listener. So it's good to join you today.
You've got to be a long-term listener with 107 of these in the can now. So there we go. So let's just talk quickly about your entrepreneurial journey and so far and your company.
Yeah, so I guess my entrepreneurial journey is 5 or 6 years deep. Corporate world, studied tourism and marketing back in the day, some years back, and then sort of worked my way through that sort of industry, tourism and hotels as well, and airlines, and worked in sales and marketing.
So I'm just having some electrical blackouts here, so I apologize. Keep going.
Oh, okay.
My lights are fine.
Okay. So yeah, I had a career through that sort of travel industry, hotels and airlines as well, and then went into marketing, specifically loyalty marketing. So working, back when data wasn't a trendy word, and working with data around credit card loyalty program in specifics. So working with banks and merchants on building their loyalty, their stickiness with their customers. So that customer journey or customer experience that I lived for in the hotel and airline world, where you're always trying to overachieve and over-impress your clients, really sort of was a nice alignment then when I got into customer engagement and loyalty from a marketing and sales perspective. And then I did that for, well over 15 years. And but I always had this entrepreneurial bug. It was a private company I did a good 10-year stint at. And, the owner of that company was, an amazing entrepreneur, and learned a lot of lessons from her, and how to structure, how to think big, how to keep trying different ideas. And so I always wanted to do my own thing. Had a fling with a car application, car logbook it was called, but didn't quite work. We raised a lot of money, and but both of myself and my past business partner weren't good at coding and that side of it. So we lost that money pretty quickly, and but had a good crack at it, and had some good success with it actually. But then went back to the corporate world, and then bumped into my now business partner Luke one day, and after a long time, and we actually worked together many moons ago, and started giving blood actually at the Red Cross every 2 weeks, and just sit there with the plasma coming out of my arm and talk about property. Had this passion, both of us, about property, and then Luke talked about this idea of starting a business, and he firstly ventured into it was called first time property investors, so mentoring property investors, but realized when he got to the end of mentoring and they actually wanted to buy a property. So there was a missing element to his business, and hence the buyer's agency idea kicked off. And sort of here we are 5 years later.
You've got a bit of a similar background to me. I at some stage I opened my mouth in a large corporate, the CBA, and told the managing director David Murray I didn't like his service, and he threw me. He said, "Well, you think you're so bloody smart that you sort it out," and threw me down into the personal bank and told me to go and analyze the data, with a team, to work out how to segment the personal bank of the CBA. And fascinating, talk about big data. But I was talking to a friend's daughter who I mentored the other day, and she's coming up to I'm showing my age, fifth form, year 11. She said, "What do you think I should do at university?" I said, "Well, based on AI these days, I reckon a mixture of data and psychology for user experience. And I think you're setting yourself up for anything. Just the way the trends are going." Anyway, so listen, Julian, sorry, I'm off. Tell us a bit about Search Party Property.
Yeah, so we're what we call in the real estate industry a buyer's agent, or buyer's advocate's another word. And as the word advocate represents, or the meaning is, we advocate for the buyer. So our job is to, in our business anyway, the way we approach it is to work the strategy out first for our client. Everyone's got individual strategy, individual goals, individual whys of why they want to invest. We then build up a buying brief, build out a plan as well, a 10, 20, 30-year plan, depending on their ages, to succeed and to achieve their goals in property investing and wealth building as well. And then we execute, go out. We have a team on the ground, particularly focused at the moment in Sydney, Brisbane, and Perth. And we've just started up a new employee in Melbourne as well. So our job is to go out there, look for the best properties using data, as you said, to analyze the areas we're looking at, from sort of top of funnel data, big data, and bringing that down to local data in terms of either using census, Australian Bureau of Statistics, and even each local government data, and looking at where their infrastructure spanned. An $8 billion Navy port in the Rockingham area of Perth obviously then says to us, okay, well, that's an area I should investigate. So you fly over there 18 months ago, do a lot of running around Perth for a couple of weeks, and then we open up an office in Perth. And so that's kind of how we follow the market trends rather than just pushing people into a product. We're not holding stock per se.
Okay. So sort of stepping back a little bit, if you had to start from scratch again, so you've been doing this for 5 years and you've done one before that. If you had to start from scratch again, are there any aspects of your personal leadership development that you prioritise more than you did at the time?
Yeah, it's probably one you hear a lot of. It's probably just taking on too much, taking on every task and thinking, you have to do it all yourself. Which I guess makes sense when you are starting up. That's the word represents you don't have a big team around you, and you slowly start hiring or using VAs or whatever it might be, or outsourcing elements. But I think that particular for me was just pushing really hard. Particularly in this company, we started well and started building some momentum, process, systems. That was something I was really focused on. Luke was more focused on the property buying side, and then COVID hit. And the rest is history, as we all know. So obviously that was just an absolute falling off the cliff moment for us. So during that time, I went out and I was lucky. I've got a very executive role with a Dutch company out of nowhere to manage their business in Australia. So that got me through COVID. But then just trying to do it, then search party kicked off again, and really started to build. But it's just burning myself out, really, just trying to do everything myself 7 days a week. We're in COVID. What else to do? We're locked down anyway. So just kept working, and got to a stage where I got very sick, and just realized that I had to let go. And luckily over that period, I was able to hire some people during that time, and was able to offload, train, and get them to really take off. And they're in the business now for over 3 years, and they're just flourishing, and the business is really taken off with them. So it's probably something I'd relook at again and try not to have a stroke.
It's a really interesting thing, and it's a hard one. That lesson is really hard. Like, you and I, when we're in your corporate business, you're surrounded by people. I ran a company with 3,000 staff. So the who's, you've got a lot of the support around you. But as an entrepreneur, when your laptop shits itself, sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but when your laptop craps itself, it's like you're there. You're the one that's got to go and sort that out. And it takes a long time to learn, the who before how. Find the who's. And you talk about VAs. I've had all sorts of problems over the years trying to find the right VA. I've invited someone to join me in the next couple of weeks, who owns a business called Automation Agency, automationagency.com. And in fact, I've got the screen up here next to me. It has been probably one of the most fundamental changes to my business, like how I now have a VA running Automation Agency to just build all that stuff that's really hard, like landing pages and automations and all that stuff. It's and if I was asking myself the same question, starting from scratch and all that sort of stuff, I would have been hiring who's much earlier than I actually did.
Funny you talk about VAs. Even I've got to the extent where I've actually really taken the plunge and handed over my inbox to my VA now. And we've got 3-4 VAs overseas, and and that's something big. Was big for me, and it was coming out of reading a book from a guy by the name of Dan Martell about saving time. And I just thought, I'm going to do this, and you know what? I look back now a month, like, why the hell did I not do that years ago? She's been with me for 3, 4 years now.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
just such a relief, and it makes my life, and I can focus on bigger items instead of worrying about just getting back to people on a few items, or managing my
Absolutely.
diary, which is always minute by minute run, and
Yeah,
she can help me with that.
absolutely. So tell me, how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
Yeah, I've heard many people say there is no balance when it comes to work-life balance, and probably kind of true, as I mentioned before, what happened to me during that COVID time, where definitely didn't balance anything. Um, I think it does come in peaks and troughs, and there are times where you know you really got that burn in your stomach and desire to achieve something great with our business, and we really get excited when we see so many clients doing well, and 80% of our clients are referral now, which is an amazing achievement for us, and
Fabulous. Yep.
70 odd percent of them are buying multiple properties, have 2 or more properties, which again absolutely blows the statistics out of the water when 88% of Australian investors only own one property. So we're bucking that trend by a long way, and so that's quite exciting. So I guess when you've got that motivation, and you're in your with your business partner working towards these goals that you want to achieve, there are times where you lose track a little bit of what's happening. My wife works full time as well. She works for a firm. We've got 2 teenage daughters, so they keep us pretty busy. We're not as much Uber driving them anymore, but still lots going on in our lives. So it's just sometimes I have to take a step back and think about making some time in my diary, and I'll do things like in the morning tell my wife, let's go for a walk, and
Mm.
let's have a coffee together, and actually sit down in the coffee shop and do that, which I was not doing ever. So I'm trying to make those extra efforts to do that. Today I started at 6 a.m., but I was able to get a few other things done in this evening, a little bit of family time going on. So just trying to find that juggle and trying to bring myself back to, okay, it's okay to pause and take a deep breath and have an evening off, or obviously not working on the weekends as much as I used to, things like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's yeah, we were talking earlier about the fact that we started a little bit late because one of my things is I choose to work from home most of the time, and I like to be here to meet my kids when they come home off the school bus.
Mm.
But it's raining here in Darrell very heavily, and so we started a little bit late because I had to walk up with the umbrella to the bus stop to bring the kids home. But small things, and
Yeah,
it's
beautiful.
the other thing I've learned on the way through, and one for you, Julian, which I think you may have learned, is also taking time out for yourself. Um, you know, Work-life balance as an entrepreneur, no. But putting time in the diary, and that sounds very
Yeah.
severe, but for the family, but also for yourself is so important, I find.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. And just, I think with the kids, I've been part of their sporting lives. I've been in all the netball committees and
Yep,
school events, and go to touch football every weekend. And I do all of those things. So that's where I definitely do. That's non-negotiable.
yep,
That
same,
that
same.
time in my diary is always blocked out. There's no meetings that are going to overtake that. But it's a good point you make about just taking that time for yourself as well. And I do try to recharge. I love bushwalking and hiking, and so I tend to get into the bush on the weekends where I can, or just take that time to myself and go for my own walk. But I do my exercise and a few little other things that I try to do to keep breathing and keep the brain nice and
Mm,
relaxed where I can.
yep, really good points, really good
Mm.
points. So to me, switching a bit now, employees. What do you look for in an employee, and how, once you've got them, do you foster a positive culture around the team?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, obviously, we all hope we always get it right with employees, but we don't always make it. It doesn't always work that way. Obviously, we try our best with our interview processes, and today you've got psychometric testing and all sorts of things we can do. Probably AI testing on top of that. But yeah, we sometimes get it wrong. But for me, I'm looking for that little bit of spark. I like the burn in the stomach. So someone who really wants the job, not just ticking a box. Like, yeah, I need a job just to pay a few bills, but really wants to work with you. And especially in a startup environment, obviously I don't have the fancy offices. I can't offer them, the big yellow and black box that you had at the CBA, and the nice lunches and the team lunches and the bonuses and the shares and all those type of things. So it really has to resonate on our culture, what we're trying to build, bring them on that journey, explain to them really. I often say to them, it's not about me hiring them. I really want them to work for me. So I'll spend a lot of time talking about the business and myself and what we're trying to achieve, and try to get them to really make sure that they want to work with us and come on the journey with us. Because when you're a startup, you haven't got all those bells and whistles, and you are trying to do everything together. But now we're kind of moving into probably the next stage, and it's quite nice to be able to celebrate with them, and then watch the team grow and watch them take on more responsibility with the team. And I guess your question about how do you keep that culture moving, it's again, COVID's changed a lot of that, right? We don't have those offices like we used to. We gave the office away during COVID, and then we haven't gone back to one. So we've worked remotely, but we do come in together every week or two into a boardroom in the city, and have a team meeting, then have a lunch after that. So just maintain a little bit of humor and a little bit of personal contact, which we don't often get through the Zoom. Last week, actually, I was in Melbourne training up a new chap, and I said to him later, I was at the airport on Thursday night, and he said, thanks for coming. It was great to spend time with you. And I said, you know what? Reflecting back, I would have never spent 8 hours a day sitting next to you if we were doing this on Zoom. Maximum would have been 1 hour sessions, maybe 1.5 hour sessions to induct. Yet I sat next to him for 2 days for 8 hours, and we talked about everything. And so, that now I'm going to see him fast track so much better. And so, I'm glad I spent that time and actually got out of this seat and flew down there and spent face-to-face time with him.
It's really interesting, this, working remotely. You need to carve out that time, the face-to-face. One of the things with one of my clients I've been coaching for quite a few years, 7-8 years now. He has a large team in the Philippines, and in fact we moved them to the Philippines in the middle of COVID. They're all Filipinos living in Dubai, and we moved them home so that they could be closer to the families, and which was an interesting experience. But we fly in every 6 months and take them out for lunch.
Wow. I must so appreciate that, right?
Well, and it's the way we stay on top of not on top of, but how do we stay in tune with the team? Because it's so hard, that face to face, even though we are remote, and most of my clients are remote, minimum quarterly, we bring the whole teams together wherever they are. It's that engagement. What do you reckon has been your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
I think it's probably a couple of things. One is just the highs and lows, and maybe, and I know it's not exclusive to my industry, being real estate, which is often it's Australia's favorite barbecue chat talk. It's always on the front page of the newspaper, and so it's that high and lows of the industry. But we do celebrate the wins, and we really focus on celebrating and being, patting each other on the back. I guess the couple of things that I really focused in this business was focusing on the customer before the sales process. So we built a customer process, a whole service, which kind of makes sense now when you think back to my my past, being in customer engagement, and before that being in 5-star hotels, all about the customer. So we built that engine out first and carved that out, CRM, everything, and a leader to run that before I actually carved out the whole sales process. And when I say we had a sales process, but it wasn't carved out with scripting, it didn't have that whole stage that it has now. So that's probably something I look back on and say, okay, well, maybe sometimes I could have done the other way and really focused on the sales first and customer service second, but it's working now. But that probably took a little bit of time to get moving. But probably that highs and lows. The budget's probably another one I'd look at. So, in corporate world, you have these big budgets that we're responsible for, but ultimately there's always money around because the company has money to support. And when you work at a company like yours, worth trillions of dollars, it's another story. But, for me, it's not just folks running forward with the sales and the marketing, getting everything done, but also keeping a sharp view on my forecasting and the P&L. And something I've always done in my corporate world, but as an entrepreneur, I took my eye off the ball a little bit because you get more focused on actually doing. I didn't have to report to a board like I had to do in the corporate world every month, and all those things that we had to prepare, board papers. So you just tend to take your eye off. As long as there's money in the bank to pay the staff, you're happy and you move forward. So a little bit more planning now and focused on my P&L and forward planning. So I know we're headed for next quarter, the quarter after that. And if I'm going to have any big projects, how am I going to pay for that down in 6 months' time?
It's interesting you say. I regularly post on LinkedIn thought leadership posts, and I've got one coming out tomorrow. So when people listen to this, will already be out. And there's a blog coming out as well on preloading the new year, preloading January and February. And telling a story about one of my clients a couple of years ago who, the sales team took their eye off the ball. They'd hit the quarterly targets in about mid-November, took their eye off the ball, and the founder came back after Christmas, after the end of January, after a good break, and walked into a cash flow crisis because the sales team stopped doing sales activity in mid-November. Therefore, there were nothing being delivered in late January, February, and no appointments out there to sell anything. And I had to take a line of credit out to pay the salaries. Wow. And it was the best lesson this company ever learned. From my perspective, it's they were a brand new client at the time, but from my perspective, I've just put out a blog exactly on preloading the new year. What can you do now to get through the quiet time over the Australian Christmas and January? So it's a really good point you make.
I really look into that. I think it's a good article and a good topic, because something that I've been really focused on, because we know basically by mid-December through to mid-January, it's going to be very quiet for us, that real estate agents are gone and people don't really want to transact. And so for me, we know that's going to be quiet, but come January's always been our biggest month for new business. The reason being is everyone is on their phone, flicking through Facebook, and if you pop up an ad around property investing, they are,
and that's a really good point, because it's positioning in your client's mind, when they're on a break, thinking they're at a holiday house or whatever they might, renting near the beach, wherever they might be, and they've suddenly got this mind, well, I want to buy, so it's how do you position yourself in your client and future client's mind.
So I've actually paused our Facebook campaign right now, and it's going to reload, and we've got a new topic and a new subject, a new creative, and going to push that heavily over that period. And I've already just talked to the team, who's on, who's off. We need someone to be making those calls during that time. We just want to make sure we capture that, not wait till the 15th of January, which is when our competitors will come on back on, or end of January when a lot of people come back to work. We're going to be already flying by then, which is excellent.
Forefront of mind. It's a really, really good lesson. Tell me, when you think of the word successful, who pops to mind? What entrepreneur resonates with you, and can you tell me why?
In Australia, I think I like Mike Burris. He's pretty real, he's pretty raw. Obviously, he's in our sector, around the finance sector. Great stories about Kerry Packer and some of the learnings that he's come through. I think he's the old school, looking after the small man and the SMEs. He loves the SME. I think in that sense, I like what he's done and how he keeps reinventing what he's doing. And probably internationally, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. Again, that story, myself being a migrant as well to this country, Gary Vee being a migrant to the US, and what he built, through his dad's liquor store, and how he's continually growing his own entrepreneurial businesses to become this huge juggernaut marketing company now, but always staying on the cutting edge of trends and trying things, and trying to ensure, don't just think you can post a couple of videos on YouTube or post a couple of posts on Facebook and you're going to be successful and go viral. It's a long-term strategy. One of the things I took from him many, many years ago was LinkedIn. And so I've been posting for 4 years every single day a thought leadership article. I've done hundreds of newsletters, videos now, a lot more videos. So every single day I'm posting something of educational content around property investing or mindset or whatever it might be. And that's now resonating. I'm getting a lot of leads through LinkedIn, which makes sense. A professional network. A lot of my clients are professionals. Don't have time to invest, and would outsource that to a buyer's advocate like myself to help them set their strategy and then execute their property investing.
It's a very good point. The concept of perseverance. A lot of people miss that.
The overnight success.
Well, what did Steve Jobs? It took me a bloody long time, 25 years. For the overnight success. Fascinating, isn't it? So business books, podcasts, blogs, biographies of leaders, what would you recommend?
Well, I was probably the same people I just mentioned. Obviously, I like The Mentor, Mark Burris's Mentor. I like Tim Ferriss a lot, was into his 4-hour work week and those type of books that he came through. Gary Vee's got a great content library through podcasts, and also YouTube is where he's huge on your YouTube. Just something a little bit left field. I like Jay Shetty about, I think it's
Yep.
on Call on Purpose, what he's talking through, and it's not just all the, a lot about the mindset of business as well, and not just about the P&L and the sale. Obviously, I like the marketing angle of a lot of the people I mentioned, but it's nice to sort of take it off field and look, think about it from a different lens that Jay Shetty brings across it.
It's a really interesting, because Jay Shetty, I think, is one of the most downloadable podcasts out there.
Oh, there you go. Right.
Yeah, he's very right up there. But it wasn't him, but someone it may have been Gary Vee or one of these people. I've got attached to the bottom of my screen, everything's downstream of lead generation. And if you think about it, the theme with a lot of the guys you've just been talking about is, how do you use the different, whether it be YouTube, whether it be LinkedIn, project yourself and your personality so to generate leads. It's so important.
Exactly right. Yeah, and I think more and more so, as you talked about earlier with AI and the advent of that, and where do we take that to really escalate that?
Well, I mean, it's changed my business. It's changed my business unbelievably. I would be into the basic of ChatGPT 10, 12, 15 times a day. Both for basic level content, but I now use ChatGPT and other AI. When I'm with clients, we'll use it to generate OKRs. We'll use it to generate KPIs. We'll use it to help them. Yesterday, one of my clients said, "Look, I need to set up an employee. I want to set up an employee share scheme to thank my team." And it's not perfect, but within the space of 50 minutes, we had designed it, written all the legal documents, written the promotion, the promotion of the staff, written the staff communication and everything else. Now, it's not perfect. It's got to go to lawyers and all that sort of thing. But I think we probably saved in 6 months worth in 50 minutes.
It's incredible.
How AI is changing.
Even the other day, I've got a property management business as well, so a vertically integrated business into our business. And I had to write a job description for a property manager, and obviously started thinking about it. And I thought, hang on, ChatGPT, put it into, obviously told what we do, how we do it, our culture, edited some things in. We've actually built our own chat bot now. So as you know, last month they released that ability to do that. So we fed everything into ChatGPT and have created our own version of it for our own business. So I don't have to feed information about what we do any longer. It's already
I've just started doing the same, and
I've been able to produce job descriptions and all sorts of different things for job ads.
And just to allow the staff to ask questions. It's fascinating.
And we're saying that we're going to put that on our website now too, right? So it'll be a chat bot that actually clawing and picking things out of our website to answer questions.
Yeah, no, it's certainly changing all our lives, I think. Well, it's changing those who are using it positively. There are a lot of people out there who've got a bit of a mental block on it, but the way it can accelerate some of the things we're doing is phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people who want to be lazy, like the amount of people I see on LinkedIn, which drives me nuts, where they cut and paste the ChatGPT post with even the emojis that ChatGPT does and the American spelling, and then cut and paste it as a post. You're thinking, come on, you should have just spent 5 minutes on, personalizing it, and it still would have been a great post. But now you've just told everyone you've just cut and pasted from ChatGPT, which is a real shame.
I totally agree with you. Julian, last question. Any last piece of advice or parting words for other business owners who are looking to grow?
I guess, the word growth, I guess the term think big, like really think how far can you push it, and it doesn't matter if you don't reach it, but it's better to think outside that square and think about industries outside of what you do and how you can grow that through. Is it partnership marketing? Is it, like I said, vertically integrating businesses within your own? Can you bring in technology to really escalate your business in different ways? How do you reach more people? Seminars, is it, instead of one-to-one, can we do one-to-many? So really thinking outside the scope and how big we can go. And probably the second part of thinking big is actually taking action. So a lot of us do think big. A lot of people can say some really great things that they're looking to do, but you actually got to go and do it. And we say the same thing to property investors. We have a lot of people who procrastinate about property. Well, you got to take action. When you take action and you've got time in the market, you're pretty much on the road to success. And I think that resonates back to business as well.
Yes, there's some really very, very, very good points there. You've got to start. And a lot of people say, well, what if I fail? Well, guarantee you are going to fail if you don't actually get on with it.
Exactly. That's a one definite.
Yeah, I totally agree. Julian, I've really enjoyed our chat, as I always do, as it turns out. But thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. I appreciate your time as well. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, Julian.
If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you watch/listen. It helps this channel more than you know, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the learning gets. Please share this episode with others who may be interested in entrepreneur stories of scaling up. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, please send an email to admin@scaleupgrowth.co. Put "be a guest" in the subject line and tell me a little about yourself. If you want to gauge where your business growth potential is and identify where the biggest opportunities in your business lie or where the key needs that you need to concentrate on right now are, take our assessment where you will receive personalized advice for improvement. It's quick and free. Go to scaleupgrowth.scoreapp.com. If you would like to work with me one-to-one, I love coaching and get the best outcomes that way. Send me an email at jonathan@scaleupgrowth.co and put one-to-one in the heading. Tell me a bit about your business and let's see how we can apply a great strategy for your business. So that's it for this week. Tune in next time for more great learnings from a scaling entrepreneur.